Well, there's a new piece of evidence that has emerged now, buttressing the credibility of Tara Reade's claim that she told her mother about allegations of sexual harassment and assault related to her former boss, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, through a spokesperson, has denied the allegations, but we'll get into that here in a second. Now, Reade mentioned that her mother had made a phone call to Larry King Live years ago on CNN, during which she made reference to her daughter's experience on Capitol Hill. Tara said, "I remember it being an anonymous call saying that my daughter was sexually harassed and retaliated against and fired. Where could she go from help? I was mortified that my mother did that," Reade told me. This is according to The Intercept. The program, she didn't remember a date. She didn't remember anything. The Intercept went and tried to look for it, and they couldn't find it. But once you publish something like this, there is always somebody who has more time than you, or less time than you. No, more time than you. It's a reader of The Intercept went out and just started watching all the old Larry King shows. And they found one. And you could watch them, just on YouTube. And here's what they found.
We're back. A couple more phone calls on this very important topic. Our guests are former United States Senator Howard Baker, Richard Allen, former National Security Advisor, and Lois Romano of the Washington Post. San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Okay.
Wow.
So Tara Reade was asked about this, and she said, I think that's my mom, but I haven't heard her voice in a long time, so I can't be sure. But it fits everything, including this little tidbit. That particular episode, Google has removed. You can now find the episode before it and the episode after. But the episode August 11th, 1993 has suddenly vanished. So not only is the press not asking any questions, now Google is altering history. This is so incredibly dangerous. Now, if you didn't hear the accusation, we have the Tara Reade audio.
We don't have it handy at the.
We don't have it handy yet.
Minute, but like this is because she had initially made accusations of basically, I want to say, hair sniffing, right? Like that initial
and gentle fondling.
Right. Remember this from when there was like 7 women that came out and made these initial allegations. She was among that group. She later made these much more serious, or much more really an assault.
Graphic, and
yeah,
it is an assault. Anybody who is covering this, and there's very few. Some who are sympathetic to Joe Biden are just saying that it was fondling, which is bad enough, by the way. But it is not. If you listen to what she said, it is not.
The new allegation is legitimate, absolute sexual assault. You look at what's fascinating about this is, as you point out, Glenn, readers of The Intercept are the ones digging these videos up, not CNN, who, it was on their network. They have the archives. They hadn't even talked about this. And when they finally did have to write a story about this particular allegation, especially given the fact that it was on their network, it occurred on CNN, they led it with, Biden's accuser did blah, 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 blah. And I thought to myself, if you read CNN for your news, he's accused of what? How would you even know what he was accused of? You haven't covered it at all. No. So it is amazing to watch them flail around and ignore this when this piece of evidence from Larry King is an infinite amount of more evidence than they had on Brett Kavanaugh at any point. This is,
oh my gosh,
this is actually, we know that and I had heard differently about her mom's comments in that her mom's voice, and that she said that was my mom's voice. So that is what I had read earlier. I'm not exactly sure.
So one of the, I don't, maybe mine was earlier than what you read.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, this is a serious thing with, as we learned during the whole, FBI, James Covey thing, that whole issue, it was contemporaneous notes that were important, right? Just the fact that he wrote down notes at the time of this incident proved it. Here is a call from the mom, a concerned mom, trying to figure out
in '93.
In '93, right around, like, it is the amount. If this happened with another Republican type, this would be the only thing they'd be talking about for months, and they won't even discuss it at this point. It's embarrassing.
Well, let me just go through. Let me just show you the duplicity here. September 16th, 2018. Within minutes of the Washington Post story outlining Blasey Ford's claim that Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her at a high school party more than 3 decades earlier, the New York Times immediately published a story stating that Kavanaugh's nomination was in turmoil. CNN reported the news immediately with an article, and then another one likening it to Anita Hill. Then another one describing the White House as mounting an intense effort to squash the accusation. Then CNN did another one describing a senator's assessment of how Kavanaugh's nomination would go forward. And then finally another one, all in the same day, describing how Democrats would push for a delay in Kavanaugh's confirmation vote. Then, March 25th, 2020, this is the day this story broke. It happened all at once, and then his hands were on me, underneath my clothes. He said, "Come on, man, I heard you like me." For me, it was like everything shattered. I wanted to be a senator. I didn't want to sleep with one, she said. She told her brother, as well as her mother and a friend, about the incident at a time. Meanwhile, as that story broke, CNN wondered, why is Bernie Sanders still running for president? That's the story they ran with. The New York Times published a story that day explaining that Biden was growing impatient with the idea of more debates with Bernie Sanders. Let's see. You go back to Kavanaugh. This is September 17th, so this is day 2. Chuck Schumer calls for an FBI background investigation into claims against Kavanaugh. We need the FBI to step forward to ensure that the Senate and American public have complete information about this troubling alleged incident before the hearing is held. CNN calls the Ford accusation a watershed moment for the GOP. The Huffington Post ran a story quoting Biden saying, "Women's claims of sexual assault should be presumed to be true. For a woman to come forward in the glaring lights of focus nationally, you've got to start out with the presumption that at least the essence of what she's talking about is real, whether or not she forgets facts, whether or not it's been made worse or better over time. But nobody fails to understand that this is like jumping into a cauldron." Day 2 of the Tara Reade incident, Jimmy Kimmel interviewed Biden, and they talked about Where's Waldo. Schumer spoke on the Senate floor, touting the new Green Deal, saying that Republicans refuse to admit that climate change is real. And CNN teased an upcoming CNN town hall with Joe Biden. The Reade accusations are not discussed on air in the network's preview coverage. I should just point out, they were never addressed. This goes on day after day. You compare what day 1, day 2, day 3, day 15. They are complete opposites. I knew about the Kavanaugh stuff, and I found out about it from conservative media. I knew about what her accusations were. I knew all of it from conservative media. This is the one thing that we tend to forget. Our friends and neighbors who don't watch Fox News, don't listen to talk radio, they actually are very ignorant not self-imposed ignorance. They are very ignorant of many stories. And that's because they get filtered news. It's why I always say, read the other side. Read the New York Times. Watch CNN, although it's intolerable. Don't watch CNN. You can't watch CNN. But read the Huffington Post. You should at least know what people are talking about on the other side. And we found this out to be true with friends who are liberal after Barack Obama left office. We went through remember Riaz Patel, we went through a chalkboard of all the different stories that he had said, where was his corruption? And we put all those stories down, and story after story said, I didn't know that. I never heard that story. I didn't know that happened. And they were all verifiable stories. But he had no idea, and he was being really honest. He's a very smart guy. He's in the media, and he was being honest. I never heard that because he never listens to talk radio. He doesn't read he didn't at the time read conservative websites, and he didn't watch Fox News. So, of course, he doesn't know anything bad about Barack Obama. Of course, you're not going to know anything about Joe Biden. That's why this is so dangerous. Not only because half of the country doesn't understand. Look, you may disagree with the points on Fox News, or you may disagree with the points on CNN, but you should at least know what the other side is claiming. And then use your head, especially now when they've been proven to be wrong about so much. On the other side, the stakes have just gotten worse. Because the internet is forever unless Google decides it's not. When Google decides to alter its algorithms or to edit an archive, anything can happen. Or anything didn't happen, if you catch my meaning. Nancy Pelosi came out, and I'm going to talk about this probably next hour if we have time. Nancy Pelosi came out this weekend and said, Donald Trump's ban in China did not go far enough. Now, this is the same woman who called him a racist and a xenophobe the minute he put the ban on Chinese travel. Then she came out a couple of days later and said, we're going for sanctions on this president. His xenophobia and his racism has got to stop. The only reason she can now make the claim that he didn't go far enough is because she knows the mainstream media will never go, excuse me, you said this. And if the public doesn't know history, I mean recent history, if it doesn't understand what just happened because nobody made a big deal out of it, they cannot be held responsible for what they're doing. Now, in this particular time and place, every American has to be held responsible because if you don't get it yet, you never will. You are just an irresponsible human being. If you aren't at least concerned about the way media handles the news, and more than just Fox News, bad, CNN, good, you're irresponsible an American. That's self-imposed ignorance. And that you are completely and 100% totally responsible for in the end.